Vance has drawn criticism for his America First message and his opposition to funding Ukraine. Another major criticism of Vance is his record on abortion. In 2021, during the Republican primary race for U.S. Senate in Ohio, Vance explained his opposition to exceptions for abortion, saying, quote, "Two wrongs don't make a right." Vance also said he would, quote, "certainly like abortion to be illegal nationally." Vance has since shifted his stance, stating this week on Fox News, "You have to believe in reasonable exceptions because that's where the American people are." The shift marks a stark contrast to his comments made less than 3 years ago that, quote, "there's something comparable between abortion and slavery." Joining us now, former Democratic Congressman Tim Ryan of Ohio, who ran against Vance for the U.S. Senate in 2022. Tim, good to see you again.
Good to see you guys.
What do you make of J.D. Vance, not just as running mate to former President Trump, but since you ran against him, what is it that Americans need to know about him?
Well, there's a very high level of insincerity that comes from him. He's really willing and able to say whatever he needs to say to kind of climb the political ladder. Obviously, he was calling Donald Trump Hitler a few years ago and all the things you just mentioned about abortion, and then is willing to say or do whatever he needs to now. But the reality of it is, Mika, he believes this stuff. You know, he's not a pro-freedom Republican a la Joe Scarborough or Ronald Reagan. This guy wants to take freedom away, you know, not just on the abortion issue. He wants women who are in violent marriages to stay in those marriages. You look at freedom in Ukraine, not for that. And quite frankly, as they try to move into this kind of working class area, this is a venture capitalist who invested in companies to move jobs to China. Trump did a tax cut for the top 1%. It's laughable to think that they somehow are going to come into these Great Lakes states and play this working class card. It's just not going to happen. And then Trump's attack last night on the UAW, which is the union that is a private sector union that is really growing, moving into the South, organizing workers to try to lift up their wages. So I think the convention the last few nights was a bust, not just bad speeches and droning on, but actually positioning the Republican Party for defeat. And I'm more optimistic after this convention than I was before it even started.
So, Tim, you went 10 rounds with J.D. You almost beat him. 8 rounds, it was a draw. If you had a bit more resources, money, there's a lot of people who think that you would have won that contest. What did you do to put J.D. on the defensive? How did you campaign against him? Do you have any tips for the potential Democratic vice presidential debate?
Yeah, I mean, we highlighted all of these extreme views. We highlighted them. We hammered them home. And we were up 3 points going into Labor Day because we spent the entire summer defining the extremism of J.D. Vance and the MAGA movement. And then Mitch McConnell came in with $40 million to help him. And we didn't get anything from Washington, D.C., from the Senate Majority PAC. And that's when they were able to take the lead and win. So we had them defined. I think we should run that exact same playbook against Trump and Vance. We highlight the extremism. And then what I think in a presidential election, you got to elevate this conversation. I think people are dying, Mike, for an aspirational message coming from a politician, a leading politician. People want to talk about the future of the country and how bright it's going to be. We want to talk about opportunity. We want to talk about freedom, getting the government out of a woman's bedroom, getting the government out of our lives and our personal lives. If we can capture that energy in the country, we will blow these guys out. I'm telling you that we can beat these guys. No one wants to live in that dark kind of country that Trump talked about last night. They're dying for aspiration. They're dying for a new message. They're dying to be challenged again, not just talked down to and tell you how bad things are, but how we need to challenge people to be inclusive and how we make the country better. And that's the challenge for every generation. And if we come in with a candidate that can challenge them, I'm telling you, we're going to blow these guys out.
And Congressman, good morning. You've been clear about how that should happen. You wrote a couple of weeks ago in Newsweek and came on our show 2 weeks ago to talk about it. Your piece that said Joe Biden should step aside and it should be Vice President Kamala Harris who gets the nomination, who is the candidate who you believe can defeat Donald Trump. I'm wondering if your thinking has changed at all in the last couple of weeks. Obviously, we've heard Nancy Pelosi shares the view that President Biden should think about stepping aside. Chuck Schumer, Democratic leadership. President Obama is concerned about President Biden's path forward. So if you still believe that Joe Biden should step aside, what happens next? Because I think that is really what worries a lot of Democrats. What does the unknown look like?
I think it's clear. I think you make Kamala Harris the nominee. I think we be decisive about this. We rip off the Band-Aid, make Kamala Harris the nominee. You've seen her in the last 2 or 3 weeks. She is hitting her stride. She has her voice. She's matured, and I don't say this in a condescending way, but just as a political observer, she has matured. Her confidence level is so high. She's mastered these issues, both domestic and internationally. She's ready to rock and roll. I don't know what we're waiting for here. Let's get her in the game. You know, she can prosecute everything that we know that needs to be prosecuted, from all of those Trump lies, 22 lies last night, which comes in under the 30 from the debate. Kamala Harris is not going to let him get away with any of that BS at all. She's going to hammer him. She's going to be able to prosecute the choice issue for us. She's a former DA. She's going to get us positioned well, I think, on law and order, on the border. We can hit the reset button on those things, and then we get her into the industrial Midwest. These union guys are going to love her. I campaign with her. She's got a great personality. She's fun to be with. She could, tease and have fun. I think these working class folks are going to love her once they meet her in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. So I say it's A to B. Biden selected her to be, replace him if something should happen. And he thinks she's qualified. He said nothing but great things about her the last couple of weeks. We've watched with our own eyes her evolution and her confidence level soar. Let's get her in the game and let's win this thing and win the House, and let's put the Senate back in play. And I think she will do that on all counts. Motivate our base, bring in young people. Let's go.
Former Democratic Congressman Tim Ryan, thank you very much. We appreciate your coming on this morning.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn, MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.